るぜ。
With the fall season just around the corner, are you looking for a new show to pick up? If so, you've come to the right place. Today I'm going to be going through what I feel are the top 10 most anticipated new anime set to come out this fall. And with no sequels on the list, it'll be just about as good as a recommendation video if you're looking to hop onto the next big thing, or simply find something new to watch without having to dedicate hours to a previous entry. With that out of the way, let's begin.
この世はバカばっかりだ。でも気づいたらその先頭に僕が立ってた。
At number 10, we open with Orb, On the Movements of the Earth. Here we are, opening with what I feel like will be a super niche hit. Orb, On the Movements of Earth is a historical seinen title that takes place in 15th century Poland, an era where the rulers lorded over information with an iron hand, and all opposition got branded as heretics. Amidst that, we have heroes risking it all to bring enlightenment to the world. It's a world you've heard of in your history classes, but I don't think it's something that's very commonly the topic of anime or even Western series actually. I think that alone makes this anime a rather interesting addition to the fall library. It's not too often that we have more mature anime that tackles a setting like this. There are quite a lot of societal analogies in play too, and the same goes for some philosophical themes befitting the setting of the story. It definitely won't be a mainstream hit, but it's a huge change of pace from what we're used to in anime. As such, some people want something drastically different from shonen fare and seem rather eager to see how this award-winning manga translates to anime format.
今から地球を動かす。
Tying the knot with an Amagami sister is at number 9. I find it fitting to have this title right after one set in a society so entwined with religious beliefs, because our protagonist for this series, Uryu, is a solid atheist. Instead, he sets his sights on medical school. Of course, fate has a funny way of playing with us, and he finds himself living in the Amagami shrine, surrounded by 3 shrine maiden sisters. To complicate matters even more, Uryu then finds out that he must eventually marry one of the 3 and inherit the shrine. Veteran watchers will surely have something going through their minds by now. The synopsis feels like a slightly different take on either quintessential quintuplets or Goddess Cafe Terrace. And you'll be right, as Amagami Sister does exude the same energy as those titles, with its creator being the assistant of the one who brought us Quint. The manga is a very worthwhile read, having the same comedic and relaxed tone as the mentioned rom-coms and amazing art. Much like several fans, I'm definitely looking forward to this, and there'll always be room for these heartwarming and entertaining harem rom-coms.
今のお前の目の前にある景色は奇跡みたいに綺麗だろ。
復活の時来たれり。最短は水底から浮き上がる感覚に近い。
At number 8 is Demon Lord 2099. If you haven't had enough of the premise of a defeated Demon Lord waking up in modern society, here's Demon Lord 2099. You know the drill. Demon Lord gets defeated and wakes up centuries later to find himself in a completely unknown world that's gone through unprecedented developments. Only this time, the world he wakes up is nothing like what Rai or Arnos found themselves in. Nope, this is the year 2099, and our Demon Lord finds himself in a cyberpunk version of Shinjuku, a world where both magic and technology intersect. He may have become a footnote, a relic of the past, but Demon Lord Veltol looks to conquer this new world and bring back his glory days. There is always a joy to watching these kind of titles. In a way, it's like a cross between a fantasy underdog story and a power fantasy, in which you can see a fish out of water setting and the protagonist having to adjust to future society while showing that even after all those years, he's still got it. The added sci-fi elements to that kind of plot, something you don't see every day, or to pique fan interest in where the direction of the story will go.
魔王2099
365 Days to Marriage is at number 7.
結婚どころか女友達すらいないもんな。かなりまずい。
アンカレッジまで5500キロ。遠すぎる。
Getting pulled out of your comfort zone is never a pleasant experience. Tell me about it. The same goes for Rika and Takuya, 2 people living satisfying lives as co-workers in a travel agency. When the agency starts looking for office staff in Siberia, prioritizing single workers, the 2 come up with an idea. If they pretend to be married for a year, they can stay safe in the haven of Tokyo. The thing is, 2 barely know each other. Can they pull it off? And will this fake relationship lead to the blossoming of something real? From the one who gave us World God Only Knows comes this rom-com that looks to further explore something anime fans have grown to love. Fake relationship arcs are nothing new, but it's not too often that we get a more down-to-earth take on it, something more mature, more adult in its perspective. Needless to say, it's still a sweet, charming story at its core, with a lot for rom-com fans to like, and that's despite the scenarios and characters for this being a bit less over the top compared to stuff like Nisekoi or Rent a Girlfriend.
結婚するって本当ですか？
But hey, ever had that one obscure anime you love, but all the episodes aren't translated? Well, you could wait for someone to do it, you know they won't. Or you could check out the sponsors of this video, Link. Link is one of the top new language learning apps out there. It offers a comprehensive lesson plan based on keywords and language levels, so you can have the best experience. I've been using it myself in the hopes that I can enjoy some anime without the subtitles, and I've got to say, it's definitely been working. Thanks to the reader feature, a lot of the words that are used to require like 200 years of history can be understood thanks to the context points they give for easy learning. But just going through some basic sentences and junk is pretty boring, and that's why Link has this awesome new progress tracking feature where you can import and create a playlist of stuff from Netflix, YouTube, podcasts, and more to help you study up based on your interest and level of experience. Want to learn Japanese but still want to watch anime now? Import anime like Jujutsu Kaisen into Link and they turn it into an interactive lesson. Now when Sukuna says Fuga, you can be simultaneously impressed by the devastating damage and the deeper meaning behind his choice of word. Link was created by fellow YouTuber and hyper-polyglot Steve Kaufman, who wanted to create a language learning app that actually does its job. So check the link in the description, and the early birds who use my referral code can enjoy a massive 35% discount on a 12-month plan. With 48 languages to choose from, a #1 ranked app, you'll be speaking any language like you were born there.
Dominic de Coco. Bravo. Bravo.
Next up is Ranma Half.
俺無差別格闘早乙女流2代目早乙女ランマ天道道場の茜は親同士が決めたいい名付け
The 2024 version of Ranma isn't a new anime. It's a remake of the classic, a favourite of the 90s kids who are now approaching their 30s. Ranma has a simple premise. Martial artist Ranma Saotome, through some accident during his training journey, finds himself the recipient of a unique curse. Cold water changes him into a girl, and hot water brings him back to being a boy. With such a unique dilemma, he looks to find a way to undo the curse, all while juggling relationships with friends and enemies alike. Oh, and there's also the arranged marriage to Akane, so that's a lot on Ranma's plate, isn't it? Ranma has been one of the more enduring 90s series that's captured the hearts of anime fans in its heyday. About time to get some new blood who might enjoy this comedic action series now, don't you think? Remakes of classics can be hit or miss, but I'm positive they'll nail it for this one. We do have Mappa handling things this time after all, and the trailers they've released so far look really great.
Ranma 2分の1アルマ
We resume our list with mechanical arms.
これがトリガーアームの力
Talk about something that we'll finally experience for real. Back in 2018, we got the first iteration of Mechanical Arms, a one-shot episode that showed some real promise. Yeah, an anime that kind of reminds me of a cross between Buso Renkin and a bit of a sci-fi Parasite. Isn't anything too groundbreaking, but it did show us quite an interesting dynamic between characters and a world that's just begging to be explored. The whole show just had to be longer. What do you know, half a decade later, we'll finally be getting the real thing. A full-length anime series that will probably give those who watch the one-shot some much-needed answers. This is looking to be one of the sleeper hits of the season as far as action anime goes, and sci-fi fans shouldn't miss out. At fourth is the most notorious talker runs the world's greatest clan.
俺は誰にも縛られない俺は最強を従い最強となる
If you were to ask me to compare this season's titles by key visuals, this is by far one of the more striking ones in that you immediately have an idea of what it's gonna be like. It blatantly presents itself as fantasy action that will have an overpowered protagonist, just the perfect cup of tea for a lot of anime fans. Noel does feel like one of those underestimated yet cool and strong light novel protagonists we've all come to know. However, the twist this time is that instead of having an ability that's actually useful for combat like Hajime or Naofumi, his expertise lies in talking. Because, you know, a silver tongue is perfect in a fantasy world ravaged with monsters. Who needs combat skills? You can just worm your way into uniting the strongest groups in the land under your banner. That's low-key genius if you ask me. Combining the underestimated underdog protagonist trope with a bit of kingdom building is a pretty interesting concept, and the world can't wait to see how it'll turn out. Starting out the top 3 is Blue Box.
俺の青春はこの箱に詰まっている
An aspiring and hard-working badminton player falls for the rising star of the basketball team. Such is the recipe for unrequited love, a punchline typically reserved for side characters in the typical rom-com. But not in this case, as against all odds, Daiki and Jinatsu find themselves housemates. As awkward as that may be, it's quite the big chance for Daiki, and only time will tell how this relationship with Jinatsu will develop. Of all the new non-action shows airing this fall, Blue Box definitely is my pick for hit of the season. It's got everything that someone who's not in it for the thrills and the hype moments would love. It's a charming and grounded romance that develops at a great pace, and it's got lovable characters who've got dilemmas that are quite relatable actually. A genre mix between romance and sports also gives Blue Box a unique feel. I'm sure it will feel like a comfy change of pace for people who prefer their wholesome romance anime. Uzumaki is at number 2. Horror in its purest form is quite a rare genre that typically goes under the radar, for good reason too. It's not as easy to get people into pure horror compared to just incorporating violence and horror elements in a thrilling battle shonen or mystery, kinda like what Summertime Rendering did. Pretty ironic because when it comes to films, it's one of the things Japan is really popular for. One of the horror manga that made it to the mainstream, however, is Uzumaki, largely considered legendary horror maestro Junji Ito's masterpiece amongst the titles in its catalogue. Ever since back then, horror manga fans have been clamoring for an anime adaptation of Uzumaki, the heart-stopping story set in a town obsessed with spirals. There's been talks of said adaptation for quite a while now, and this late September, we're finally getting it. With 4 episodes scheduled, it's the perfect length for this compact series that will send chills down your spine. The perfect simulation of the movie viewing experience, if you will. Lastly, we have Dan Da Dan topping the list. This fall will see the much-awaited anime adaptation of Jump's hottest new kid on the block. Dan Da Dan is unconventional, and that's a very light way of putting it. With comedic action shows, the premise is typically easy and simple enough to understand, but Dan Da Dan is a series that throws that out the window. Aliens? Check. A cult and the ghosts? You got it. An edgy start that doesn't pull back on the weirdness and isn't safe for work? Definitely. Wild, upbeat, and saturated colors emphasize how the anime's point is all about wild, off-the-rails entertainment. Hell yeah. The cool thing about this is, while it's all sorts of ecchi and crazy insane at first, you'll definitely find yourself watching an intriguing show that features phenomenal characters, ones that also tackle themes that hit really hard. Momo and Ken's adventures as they try to grapple with both the occult and the surreal is the show to watch out for this fall. Are you feeling Dan Da Dan fever like the rest of the world does? Make sure to show your love for the show in the comments section. Otherwise, feel free to share what anime you're excited about for this fall. If you like the content and want to see more, how about checking out the channel and more of its videos? We've got a lot more for you to enjoy, including top 10 moments lists for your favorite shonen shows or seasonal previews and reviews. Thanks, and I'll see you next time. ViniiTube signing off.